And hey everyone, how's it going? It is I, the real Randy Chavez, coming at you today with a Vivi interview with Queen Vivi, aka Lori Brenner. Everyone say hello to Dashi. Um, I messaged you last night, but it was quite late last night, I think, when I messaged you, and I'd already been going on for a little bit. Um,
It was. And the
in
night
your
before, you were a little lit. My son was laughing. He's like, he was laughing at you.
there was the past couple nights I've gone live, and it's been one night I randomly did like 7 hours for like no reason. It
Yeah.
was, and then
Yeah.
I think
You were
last night I
making
just did like
sandwiches and
yeah. Then somebody, this guy named Mike H was just messaging, or was just typing the chat as like, Randy, I want to be the sandwich that you never finish making. And because like I was whispering because like my friends are in the room across the hall, so I didn't want
I
to wake
heard
them
you.
up.
I was there. I was there.
So
And you're
it's-
like, Lori, you want to come on? I'm like, no, I'm not going on with drunk Randy.
so that was a good time. Um, you have you've always been notoriously busy doing spaces, getting major people on your spaces like celebrities. You have Al Khan, you have David Yu coming on soon. He was supposed to come on the last couple weeks, but he's delayed. Tell us a little bit about that. How you got him to agree to come on for the second time because he was on with Al, and then the explanations for why he might have delayed.
Okay. So I initially contacted him and I think it was around Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, I was like, with the holidays, I'm trying to book my January schedule. How's January look for you? And, he said he had a trip that was going to be multiple, a couple weeks, more than a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And he would be held up most of January, but he could do it at the end of January. So he got back from the trip. I think it was like Sunday. He got back and we were supposed to go Wednesday. And he said, is there any way that we could push this? He said, I've been out of the office and I have mounds of stuff I have to get caught up on. And I get that. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, sure. No problem, David. So he responded back. We were supposed to go the following week, but he ended up, HIPAA and all, I don't know, but he ended up with not feeling too well. So he ended up with a medical issue that came up. So then we were going to go this week, but I already had Danny the Bull scheduled for this week. So I told him next week was available. So he has now committed to the 15th, February
Okay.
15th. So Wednesday. So yeah, we're good to go now.
I love Danny the Bull. We're on each week on this thing around the Okomi verse. You were on one episode.
Right.
So and I feel like both me and him would have the same suggestion or feelings where it's like if I was scheduled, if he's scheduled, by all means kick us off to get David on. I'd be like if I got the
No,
message, if I got the message like 20 minutes before, I cleared my whole day. Like, hey, Randy, David said he can come on. We have to bump you. I'd be like, that's fair. Like I would have totally been okay.
no, that's not right.
There's a Sparty
I'm
Pants with a
just gonna
reference.
give Danny to boot.
Yeah,
No,
give him the boot.
no, that's mean before Valentine's Day. Come on. Well, Brock wouldn't even go on the week after Al. He was like, I'm not following Al Con. I'll go the following week. I'm like,
That
okay,
makes sense.
Brock. So
So obviously you had some quite big important people on. When you go around asking these people, how do you go and do you just go and wing it and be like, hey, shoot this person a message, I'll shoot them an email? Or do you go and be like, okay, I need to go find out what makes them tick? What did they like in their childhood? Who do they vote for? And then try to incorporate some of this in the message.
God, that sounds amazing, Randy. And I wish I could say that was the case. But that's not it. Um, I've always said go big or go home. My husband tells me all the time, you can't hit a home run if you don't swing the bat. Also listening to Dan on your channels. He's really inspirational. I like Dan. He does a lot of interviews. And, the way I look at it is what's the worst they can do to you? Like, what's the worst that they're going to say?
Yeah.
No. So, I mean, for the most part, I seek creative ways to connect with these people because, like, you can't just say at Alcon, on Twitter, can you come on and do my podcast? It
Especially
doesn't.
because he doesn't check Twitter. He's never on it.
I'm not going to talk about what I may know about Al's Twitter account or not, but I do know some things about it, and he's going to have a new follower soon. Or a new he's going to be following someone new soon.
Oh, okay. Is that Vivi related, or is that
yeah.
just
Yeah. No, I'm gonna tell him like how you gotta follow me and you gotta follow first responders, so we gotta get him following a few more people.
He should follow his charity. That definitely
he should. But no, I mean it's just finding different ways, and through business you learn a lot of these things. You learn that recruiters will come at you and you think, how do they know you? Well, they know you, but they get your email address because there's certain standards within most companies, and if you take a shot and do that, you know what I mean, like work with the emails. I work a lot through LinkedIn. Hell, you'd be surprised how many people you could just call up. And then of course the community's good as well. Whenever I had Dr. Profit, Doctor of Stuff helped with that, helped facilitate that. So, there's you sometimes you just got to ask,
Yeah. I like how, or maybe not, it's just an observation that I've noticed where, let's say it's like a married couple, or it's someone they are, let's say just together, or they're siblings.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the people that you're supposed to like really help out, the people that you're supposed to take seriously, a lot of times those are the people that kind of dismiss you. Where where I'm kind of going with this is like me and Not a Profit are friends. Like we message each other all the time, and he's never been on the podcast. And then he's like, "Oh, hey, yeah, can you come on?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, sure." I was like, "What the fudge?" So
I know, because that week was a killer week for me, and you're like, "I'm never going on vacation again."
Oh, that was awful. That was not all. Vacation was fun. I absolutely loved everything about that week, except just the no Wi-Fi. And I have to do something in the beginning of March where I won't have Wi-Fi for like a week, and I'm dreading it. I mean, I'll be able to get like a million Omi afterwards, but I'm dreading.
Well, why didn't you ask him? Why didn't you ever ask him?
To be on the podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, and he told you no?
Yeah, it's just like, we'll see at some point. I was like, oh, all right, yeah, one day, and then.
Sorry.
But if I was going to space, like, oh wow, this is strange. Okay, so
you know what? Maybe it was the anonymity, Randy. Maybe it was because Twitter, you couldn't see his face. Maybe he didn't want to wear a mask.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's go with anonymity. Plus, I'm one of the few women out there that maybe he just, I don't know. Some men like talking to women a little bit more. Maybe.
Yeah, that's a good point. I always feel like this is. I don't know if I get in trouble with this. I always feel like whenever, as a man, you have to go like, like at the doctor. I always I can't have it with a dude. It feels really weird, and it's got to. So I understand that. I know obviously talking is a lot different than, being vulnerable at that. But yeah, I get it.
Try to handle it pretty. I ask hard questions, but I try to handle them with kid gloves. I'm not there to embarrass or, what I mean, make anybody, there's asking tough factual questions without, insulting someone or putting it in a way that, that they still have to answer, you know what I mean? But it doesn't come across like you're, really attacking them.
Yeah, you and Taps are a lot better at that than I am. I'll just be like, and I don't mean like anything by it. It's like a question, and they can tell me to heck off. They could answer or not answer it, but I'll be like super blunt, and then they'll, but most times they do answer, but I just don't have that finesse of like trying to word something in such a way where it like appeases to someone's ego, as opposed to just like, oh yeah, like how much fucking Omi you got? Like, like there's no.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I get that. Yeah. Where's Taps been? I haven't seen him in a while. I know you guys are friends. Is he doing okay?
Yeah, he's all right. I just extraordinarily busy. The job's keeping him insanely grounded, and kind of have blinders on. But then he's also got a wedding on top of that he's planning. So he's like super stressed. He's okay. He's fine. But he's just like,
Okay.
At the end of each day, he's got a lot, and then
Good.
trying to
Good.
mold two lives into one also is also not easy.
I've been there. Yeah. Yeah. I understand.
Yeah, but I would like to. I'll get a picture of him or with him in the middle of the year, and I'll be everyone guys did a lot, and then that's it. So
Yeah.
that was fun. When we were talking about interviews, I had asked, or you had asked on your Twitter, what's most important to you guys who want to interview David? Is it like MCP, is it OEP, VVverse, or comment down below questions. What are some questions that you've gotten from other people that you're like, oh, I really should ask this?
There's so many questions, Randy. I don't even know where it's going to be hard to actually contain all the different pockets of questions that have come in, and some have been, really, really good. We'll talk about a couple here, but one that surprised me that I saw a little bit of feedback on. And by the way, Asian Dan, I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I just saw.
He put the exact same poll out like 4 hours after I put it out, and I'm like, "What are you doing? Why are you calling?" I was joking with him, and he's like, "I must have subconsciously read it and thought it was good and reposted it or redid it myself." So it's clearly coming out. More people want to hear Veve and OUP. Like that's it. Metaverse is way low. I think we're
which is really interesting.
70%, which my husband and I thought the same thing. Like, isn't Metaverse the end all be all to kind of tie, or at least we speculate
that's what's going to burn like a lot of the OMI.
That's what's going to that's going to use the collectibles. That's going to portal interoperability, maybe, all that.
And that goes into the sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, but a lot of people are like, on Metaverse.
Yeah, and this is why I feel like a lot of people really can't see more than like a couple weeks ahead. Like they forget relatively quickly when it's good, and they're too busy looking back like over their shoulder, like, oh, when this, when that, we'll set a date on when it's supposed to happen. When we pass that date, they'll be stuck on the date when we were supposed to get it, and they're not looking forward to what's actually coming. And yeah, like I said, like I feel like VVverse is going to be the big money maker, the one's going to burn the most OMI, especially with the land sale.
Right.
And that's how you get a lot of new users. I mean, collecting stuff is really fun. I enjoy it, but when you have, what do people like to do? They like to play games. They like to do whatever. I feel like a lot of mini games are going to be. I feel like a lot of the mini games are going to be really good. What about the VVverse are you most excited for?
I'm most excited to see where it plays in with other metaverses. I don't know. Is that the plural? Metaverses. I'm interested. Are we going to be, beside Disneyverse? Is Disneyverse going to be within us? Is this going to be kind of where we'll have multiple portals where we could take certain NFTs or digital collectibles to other places? So that's kind of what excites me the most is how is this going, how is this going to interface with other, specifically for me, Disney, right? Because that's where all our collectibles, et cetera, are. But, that's what I'm really curious about is how is it going to come together with other, with other platforms and with our collectibles?
One of the things I was interested about was in phase 3, it was just supposed to be customizable avatars. And I feel like that should be relatively easy because it's not even Veve that's going to do it. It's Ready Player Me. That's the one we're getting them from. When we go and do that, what is your avatar going to look like? Are you going to choose the queen from looks like the Disney Mighties, little Disney like plushies? That
I think I have to. I think I might have to have two. Like one queen and then like one like an evil queen and then like another queen.
Have you ever played the game Second Life?
No.
Have you played video games in like the last 20 years or since having your son?
Wow. Not very well, but go ahead. I watch a lot. I watch him a lot.
Have you seen how some people tend to take on another personality when they make a character?
Yes.
Do you
Yes.
think you will also succumb to that and you will be a completely different person in the Viviverse?
I think I could take on my alter ego.
What would that be?
It would, well, it would probably be a lot like the evil queen, but like me.
So you'll use your powers for evil instead of good. I- How is, and that's another, how has that changed you, like being a prominent member in the community now, like holding these spaces, being mentioned when people say like, hey, who do you think is doing a real good job spreading the good word of Vivi? And a lot of times people will mention you. How's that affected you?
Wow. Oof, I don't know. I haven't really thought about that. Surprising. It's very surprising because I never expected um this. You know what I mean? I never expected when I got into Vivi that it would take me here, but it did. And it's been very organic, which I think is a good thing. I haven't like, necessarily pushed and forced and like this is where I want to be and this is what I want to do and I want to have all these people and do these interviews. It's just kind of happened. And that makes it really special that it's been able to just kind of build from people within the community. So I like that a lot. That makes me happy. I always had certain people in the community, like from the very beginning. It was like these are the people that I want to have, that I want to ask questions to, and it's almost to the point where that original list is gone. You know what I mean? Like now I got to think like who's next? Who's next out there? I got most of my check marks from that original list, taken care of. So now it's on, upward and onward. What kind of market do we go into next? Or what kind of people do we try to bring on and talk to next?
Yeah, I mean, you've had, if you yourself were like an NFT project, you already did your roadmap, like your roadmap that you had planned to bring out to people. It's already done. So I clearly you're thinking about it now. Where is the future for Queen Vivi and her Queen's Court and spaces? Do you continue to plan to build on Twitter, or you'd be like, you know what? I feel like the revenue share from Twitter might not be as good as maybe TikTok, or it might not
This
be as good as.
No, this isn't about money. I mean, it's really not about money. If the money comes, the money will come from Vivi and Omi. I
Yeah.
don't think from YouTube or Twitter, even if, we blow up to 10 million users and I have 150,000 followers. I don't think that's where my wealth is going to come from long term. Um, I like it for the ride. I like it for the fun. I like it for the information and the engagement and just the opportunity to kind of gather and sit and listen to what everybody across all the platforms have to say and ask those questions. Because Randy, I don't give easy questions. You know what I mean? I mean, I still want to ask the tougher questions to people. Because if they don't, they just become, I think my husband used this term, like FUD bombs. Like we have FUD bombs out there that need to be freaking dismantled. You know what I mean? And the only way they can be dismantled, in my opinion, is to be addressed head on. And we have areas like that that just keep certain people in the community fueled. And it's hard fighting all the time, sometimes some of these things without them coming up, the person, whomever it may be, to come up and say, well, this is it. Now we move forward. I know I have a lot of questions on the Spider-Man, on the common Spider-Mans,
Yeah.
and that's just providing fodder to the community. And to me, just end it. You know what I mean? Just end it. This is what happened. This is what we did at the time. Move on. Because bottom line is we're receiving the product. We don't own stock in this company, right? We don't own Vivi. We don't own any of that. It's like complaining to Walmart because we bought certain products there. But they've shared a lot with us. They want to be a community. So I think it's fair that, they answer the questions. If they choose not to, then we just got to live with it and move on. But, I think there's a lot of things out there, and I saw that through the questions, that are just still eating at certain people. And I
So,
think we've also been seeing this phenomenon, like this Vivi virus, where you have people that are very stable and they're very into the project, and something small sets them off to the point where, you know, like what happens? Why does that one little thing, turn their whole view around?
I feel like that has less to do with Vivi and
And
more
more
to
to
do
do
with
with
outside things. Yeah,
their
just their
market.
life in general.
I do too, but it's just been happening. So some of these things I feel like they're just easily answered. And if you don't like the answer, well, now you have an answer. Move on. Either stay, accept it, or move on. But just by leaving things open, sometimes I don't know if that's healthy overall for the community. Some of these
So
things we need to shut the door on, I think.
for the Spider-Man, what is the most, I don't want to say accurate, what do you think would be worst case scenario in the Spider-Man debacle? Do you think that it would be the fact that they had a separate wallet that they didn't tell us about? Do you think it was using people's gems to buy out certain so that particular common man, that particular Spider-Man, the common, or do you think it was something else?
I think the worst case would be the idea potentially that they purchase them all to have a very full first Marvel drop on the books.
Mhm.
But I don't know if there's anything necessarily wrong with that. If they use their own revenue to purchase those as assets, I guess that's fair. But
Yeah.
it's very hard to believe that a blockchain built company wouldn't think that these kinds of things wouldn't be out there. So I would hope that they would have an explanation as to why this happened, or what happened. you know
Yeah, I
and
would
to me
be.
it's okay, right? I mean, if that's what they decided to do for marketing reasons and the first drop and whatever, and they wanted it sold out and put in their wallet and part of their staking or their asset class, do they owe it to the rest of us to tell us? No, but the blockchain does tell us.
Yeah,
So why?
I I like that too. I like the worst case scenario is that they use some of their revenue to buy that. It's like, okay, well, that's marketing. Y'all wanted it. And they're able, they couldn't say they sold out in a day if they hadn't done that. But again, that's if they did that at all. They could have just had something on there so they didn't overload Immutable X, when we were trying to get on there. But
That's true. And that
uh,
would be a great answer. That would be a great answer for that to come out. But until you have certain things like that, um, like I said, you have all these little bombs all around the community. Still the ideas with like the sub 40s, you know, something like that is just still so unclear. And they're little bombs that people bring up. And then other people will say, well, I talked to David and he said those are never going to see the light. Then you have other people that swear, well, I emailed David and he said, Marvel got 10 of those and there's nothing they could do about that. And it's like, it's okay, whatever the answer is.
uh,
It's just, you start getting these people that start, oh, well, they rewarded Dr. Profit with every number 2 because no, they didn't. Like, what I mean? No, they didn't.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, and I don't think FUD is inherently bad. It's just someone that's fearful, uncertain, or doubtful.
Correct.
It's just when people start spreading the misinformation, like oh, Dr. Profit got this, and I was like, no, I fucking didn't. Like it's clear on the blockchain, and it's yeah. So that's
Yeah, they give Dr. Profit all the sub 40s. And then they're giving them out, to Dr. Profit. And it's like, but the thing is, we have to say, how do you know? How do you know? Well, these are some of those things that they could just shut, you know what I mean? Shut people up. And, some of the timelines, for the life of me, they had said in the past, we are not going to give dates anymore. Remember that? We're going to give quarters. And then what did they do in freaking December? What did they do?
yeah.
And it's like, no. Why did you tell us we'd know our MCP points by December 19th? Why did you tell us this? And I don't care, Randy. I mean, and I don't think most people care whether it's December or March because they've delivered on everything else, right? But it just gives, they're liars. They can't do anything freaking right. They're blah, blah, blah. And it's just like,
It's so strange how, in my experience, the bigger whales that I talk to, they literally don't care. It's like they don't know. Like most of the big whales that have put in, several amounts of like 6 figures and above, whether
right?
it be to Vivi or Omi or a combination, there's like okay, I trust them. Just keep me updated. And it's like, okay, we'll do. It's like if you put like 300 or $3,000, like I'm an investor. It's like, yeah, you are kind of, but yeah, but that's
Yeah.
it's
And
like when
what's
you're on
really owed too, or are all these answers owed to the community?
I mean, look at what other companies are doing. I mean, there are some people that like Disney doesn't tell its supporters. Like you have to wait until the Disney earnings call, like the month after the first quarter. Or like so, like their earnings call will be on February 8th for their quarter on fourth quarter of last year, and that's the only time shareholders really get updates. There'll be like little articles or whatever. Disney doesn't go and tell them about it. So
And
I
do you think they're asking about the Disneyverse and Igers getting pulled onto, I mean, really, do you think that that's happening? That's not happening. But we're a little bit more homegrown and tight knit, and the community is one of the things that separates them. And I think they also realize what strength the community is as a utility. And, because of that,
yeah.
there's a little bit more of the need to kind of want to keep in touch with us and keep us, I guess, up to date.
Yeah, and that's why I was really bullish on the Discord like community AMA.
Mm-hmm.
They had it last week where they're asking people like, hey, what are some things that you want to see? And of course, there's a bunch of people saying like, why don't you work on these things first before you're asking on, what other people want to see in the future? And I am bullish because, okay, well, clearly all the things that they need to work on are being worked on. And as they're going to focus on other things in the future, they want to ask the community what they would like to see. What's most important for you on the app? Is it person-to-person messaging? Is it having deals where you can see something and make them an offer? Or is it crypto? What's the
On the app, like on the actual on the actual computer, I would like to be able to purchase OMI. We talked about this before, without it being so difficult. To me, that's number one, no matter what. As far as the app goes, and I know you keep saying all they have to do is hit a button, but what's the holdup with translation? Why aren't we trying to reach some of these markets? And like I said, you have said many times, they just have to flip a switch.
Yeah.
Why aren't they flipping that switch then?
I'll go and say, trying to think as much as I can say, if there was like if so, Utility has had this issue. Link down below to their Discord. Utility, their first particular drop is going to be Winx Club, and they have a bunch of other partnerships like CryptoPunks or whatever, and they were supposed to launch last year. Part of the reason that they didn't launch yet on their platform is because they couldn't get, and they're doing like worldwide. They could easily get it just for the US, but they don't want to. They want to get a lot of Asia on there as well. And for Utility, they couldn't get a payment user to onboard crypto for them. So that they will launch hopefully this quarter. But I would guess that Veve has the same issue in which they needed a payment provider to onboard users from Asia, because Bitcoin in at least China is very, very like a taboo thing. It's legal. Right. It's not, they make it illegal like every other month. And that would be my guess, is they would want to have a sufficient payment provider. They don't want something to happen, the same thing that happened with Wire. And they would probably want it so that it's a reputable company, not just like, what is this? They would probably want it to be something like some like international bank, or maybe Alibaba with Alipay. It would have to be some big reputable company that they know and trust. Right. That would be my guess.
Well, you also had mentioned too that you don't see Pokemon or anime really coming until that does happen. So I'm thinking that's going to be pretty critical for expansion, especially if we get anime as a vertical.
Correct. That's there'd be riots if they came into an app and it already had that. They would be salty. But I would say once we do get that, that's a very big vertical. That's a large percentage of the population just in Japan, and they might do Japan first before they do China and or South. maybe Japan, South Korea, and then China.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I know China's lagging behind, but with Japan and South Korea, those are both very friendly, friendly democratic countries that shouldn't really be an issue, or I wouldn't think they would be much of an issue. But I think that will be important to start getting some of the other markets into the app.
Yeah, same. So we were talking before, just to pedal it back, about people being on your show on the Queen's Court and you getting other people. Has there been people that have asked to be on that you've had to deny? And tell us about that if there was.
I believe I asked almost everyone, but I was connected through another content creator with Michael Bromwich, and he's quit.
Okay.
And other than that, and that interview wasn't, I don't have quit. The point of that was to try to clear the air with quid and the.
You're breaking up a little bit.
And the point of it was to, try to learn more about. Oh, sorry. How's that? Better?
Can you hear me? I can hear you now. So.
Okay. And the point of that interview was for, Michael to try to explain what happened with Quid and, some of their management and, try to bridge the gap with the Veve users, or at least explain their point of view as to what happened with that little skirmish between Quid and Veve platform. So
did that happen or it did not happen?
That did happen.
Okay. What month was that?
It was. Oh boy, it was a couple months ago. It was pretty interesting though. It was a good one. Yeah, you'll have to go back. I'll send it to you. You'll have to go back and take a look at it. But that was one that came through a mutual colleague, and it was good. I think Michael's a very intelligent man. It's just theirs aren't comparable. I don't believe they don't want to be in the same class as Veve. He repeatedly said that they're not 3D collectibles. They're not competition. They're different. And then I noticed recently, they said, what makes Quid stand out? And he wrote, interoperable. And that's right. I believe they now have, 1% NFTs that are interoperable. Yeah. But, they're very different. They're not like ours. They're not 3D known comics. They're not 3D figures. They're cards. So
you haven't denied anyone to be on the Queen's Court? Anyone that's asked you?
I've asked. No one's asked me. I've asked everybody.
Oh, really? No one's gone on? No one's messaged you like, hey, can I get on your show?
No.
Really? Oh, that's interesting.
It's by invite only.
Do you have a certain not an echelon? Do you have like a measuring stick on they should have at least one other social media outlet where they have like a few thousand followers, or they have to be?
No, I had a list. I had a list from the very beginning, and everybody has come on except that was on my original list, and more people came on than that was on my original list, except for Uncle Jeremy, because he's been really, really busy selling his toy company.
Yeah.
And there's our guy. Him and Dan still needs to come on. And Dan, I talked with Dan, and Dan's coming on in the future. But everybody else that was on my list, Al Kahn, Dr. Profit, Comics and Crypto, My Collectibles, everybody that Matt Mason, everybody that was on my original hit list has been taken care of, except for Uncle Jeremy. He's the only one that still eludes me, but we do go back and forth. But I do understand he's pretty crazy, right? He's making big moves right now. So
yeah,
congratulations to him.
That's probably a dream, to be acquired by my Warren Buffett's company is just
right?
one of the most. When he told me that, I was like, oh, he's like, don't say anything yet. I was like, okay, and I was
Did
like
you
freaking out.
squeal a little bit? Were you like,
I did. Yeah, it was. I was like a teenage girl at like an Elvis concert or something. Super old
yeah.
reference. I was watching I was watching TikTok the other day, and there was this dude from Brazil, and he was like, okay, listen to this dude's voice and watch the people's reactions. Like, okay, and the dude was singing like Elvis, and I was like, this is a recording. Like, this isn't like it sounded just like him. He had that super deep voice, like no accent, and it was like, and all of the girls that were like there in the stands, it was like a high school thing. They were like screaming, they were freaking out, and it's like,
Mooning.
yeah, and it's like they knew this kid like beforehand. He was like an exchange student, and like, but like they knew him, and now suddenly has this crazy voice, and they're like, ah. Have you ever gotten like that over someone that either you interviewed or someone that you just happen to see in real life? Have you ever fangirled?
Ooh, have I ever fangirled? I don't fangirl a lot. No. Over someone I interviewed, I was really nervous about Al.
Yeah.
I mean, I was really nervous about Al. But the one thing that can take away nerves for anything, whether it be a test, whether it be is preparation. You know what I
Oh,
mean? And I prepped the hell out of myself for Al. And I think you said that of all your interviews, you did no prep for anybody but Al in
yeah.
all
This
your
and that
interviews.
wasn't my decision. I was my my friend Greg and Juan. They were like, "Hey, I know this. You normally don't prep for this, but you're prepping for this." Like, okay, and they're super smart, so it was definitely and I think the interview went fairly well. Um,
Yeah.
but the normally it's just if I get nervous, I'll just take a couple drinks and and I'll be fine. Um,
Well, what about you? Do you have people saying, "Randy, I want to come on. I want to be your guest. Please, please."
yeah,
You're like, "Yeah, I do."
and it's so I do like to save those for if I get like a super long stream going. If I go in like 8 or 10 or 12 hours, I'll do that. I'll be like, hey, you can come on at this time. But for I like so the one of the people that I live with, my friend Meg, she's been on the podcast before, but her sister wanted to get on the podcast, and I had even asked her because she's an artist and
Uh,
she's relatively good. I think like some of the stuff it looks cool.
right,
And then she said no, like when I first started doing it, she would have been like number 10 or 15 or whatever. And then after I start getting a bunch of like really like high end people on, and then she gets the job. It's like, oh, hey, can I come on and like promote like this? And I was like, I don't really have time. I don't. And like part of it was the fact that she wasn't really interested in any type of digital collectibles or NFTs. It's just talking about, and she's
right,
very 420 friendly, which is cool. I'm totally 420 friendly as well. But like that's what
right.
would have been like the whole interview. Like I smoke this, smoke that, and which is fine.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. I think part of me just wanted to be like, you denied me when I was first starting out. Now look who's coming crawl, and I was like, no. So like I just got a little salty.
Oh, I've been that way. Oh, I know. There's somebody that always like when I have big guests up, they always raise their hand to come up. And
Uh,
and I'm like, you don't even follow me. Yeah. I'm like, you don't even follow me. No. No.
Sleeping. I feel like I invite you a good amount of times, and Sleeping's just so busy. He's got a lot. One, he's got like a family, and then I think at least one company, if not like three. And yeah, I always love having Sleeping on.
Oh,
He's big.
he was one him. You know how there's just certain people, like of course I loved, the big interview, but not the sleeping's not big, but sleeping was fun. My
Yeah,
collectibles is fun. Like Johnny Dunn, they're fun because they're like us. You know what I mean?
yeah.
They're in it, with us. You can tell Dr. Prophet's not day in, day out in the little thing. You know what I mean? Like he's big level, but talking with sleeping, that man, he's got stories, Randy. He's
I
got a
know.
lot of stories.
I love that. So one of my favorite things to do is to, and I didn't, so I figured he was older, like late 30s, early 40s, give or take.
Mhm.
Um, and then I don't know, maybe you were on. We were talking about Star Wars, like the Empire Strikes Back, and just we're talking about favorite Star Wars movies. And it's like, yeah,
Mhm.
I remember like going to see that, like when he was a kid. I was like, wait, you were alive when that came out? And he's like, yeah. I knew he was older. I didn't think he was that old to see Empire. What did that come out in, like 82 or like 81 or something like
Late,
that?
yeah, late 70s, early 80s. I don't know. Yeah, it's got to be 81. Like, yeah, somewhere around there.
So like not just being like, oh yeah, I was born like 2 years prior, but like being a person enough
10.
to be able
Yeah,
to
he
go
was like
out.
10. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I think he's in his mid to late 40s. Yeah.
I
He's
no,
done some
I think
things.
he's in
He's
his
mega,
50s.
yeah. He's mega smart.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. He was like farming. He can tell you stories about like farming Bitcoin and like, oh, he's good. He's
Well,
a good
his
guest.
kids are also so as smart as Sleeping is, and he's probably in like the top 3%, maybe 1% of the world. His kids are another what's that called? Another just another
Echelon,
level above. Like he tells the
echelon.
stories. Yeah, another echelon, just another uh point of distribution above him because he tells stories like, yeah, my son could beat me at chess when he was like 8, and I was like and I know that some people are really smart, and obviously he is, but the stuff that his kids do, and this is why I'm like super bullish about like the future of humanity, because for as many idiots that go and like have kids like myself, like myself, God forbid if I ever do that, there's going to be people like Sleeping with that really high IQ that are having like high IQ, and it's like, okay, take care of me, like make these inventions that will make my life easier. I'll help fund it if you need. Um, that's why I'm super like
No,
yeah. So
you got to get Sleeping On though. If you haven't had Sleeping On, you got to get him on. But he was definitely one of my funnest one. And like I said, my collectibles, we go way back because when I first saw my collectibles, I thought he was good. Like he was like second level. Like first, you were like first, like you got certain guys were like first waves. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like you and Cavell, and then there was like that second wave of people that came in. And my collectibles was kind of in that second wave. And I liked him. I just thought this guy's funny. He's got so much energy. I'm gonna sponsor him to be on your refrigerator. And I DM'd him, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna sponsor you to be on, Randy. He's like, I don't know that guy. Please don't.
That's amazing.
He's like, I don't know that guy. I don't want to be associated. Please don't sponsor me on his refrigerator. Now
Oh,
he's back and he's like, oh my God, I denied the Queen and Randy. What was I thinking?
I didn't know that. I because like what I forget the first time we were like talked like on stream or whatever, but he's always like we've always been cool. I didn't know that story. That's amazing.
Uh, He's like, I don't know that guy. Please do not let it advertise for me. And I'm like, oh, okay. Then I think we threw Cavell on, or I threw Cavell on there or something
Yeah.
for a little while. But yeah,
So we're talking about having good times on stream. What has been your favorite memory on stream? Like the best time you're just like, this couldn't get any better. Like this is maximum fun.
oh my gosh, that's so hard because there's always so many good people that come on and we talk. Um, just from kind of being on the same wavelength and thinking a lot alike and just vibing back and forth. Um, Johnny Dunn was probably one of my best guests. Like, and it's just because it just was like having a conversation. It was just like we were sitting there having a conversation, like we known each other for, and we had the same kind of outlook and the same outlook on comics and the way we collect and we just vibed and it was a really nice it was a good conversation.
Yeah.
Um, listening to Jillian and Al talk about the First Responders Foundation right before Christmas and about when Jillian had said that every child that loses a parent that's a first responder, 365 days a year in the United States, gets a package that's specialized for them. To me, that hit me like in that moment. That's so
Yeah.
thoughtful and so wonderful. And I get a chance, I get a chance to do this, to work with them. So that was my nice moment.
Those are good. Those are fun stories. I that's very wholesome too. Mine are, I mean, I'll try to think of wholesome ones while I say these ones. I think some of my favorites were uh NFT Pirates was on once. We did like a 3 hour podcast, and a lot of it had to do with Vivi, but a lot of it was like working out and conspiracy stuff and politics, and he's just a bro, and he was great to have on. And then we were we were on for 3 hours, and then Vivi Magic came on for 3 hours after that. So it wound up being like a 6.5 hour thing. That was really cool. Um, and then I guess the first time I went really long, like a 16 hour podcast, like the first time I did that, got David on. I was like, that was pretty dope. As far as wholesome stuff, I would say there was a message I got like 2 months ago, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a guy that had like kind of poured his heart out. So like, hey, I don't comment too much, as I kind of like to keep a low profile. And it says, but I want to let you know that not only do I watch almost everything that you do, but sometimes I get in a really dark place, and you literally take me out of depression. And I was like, okay, that. So if we're talking about wholesome stuff, that really helps. That was like, ooh, that was good.
Wow. Yeah, and I get some messages from the women, some of the women, that say, thank you. I can't do that, but you can. You know what I mean? Because I'll just get up there. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like I don't care if they're yelling or barking in spaces. I'll get up there and yell and bark right back at them. You know what I mean? And I get a lot of kudos for that. Like I wouldn't believe you went toe to toe with him. He's a jerk anyways, or something like that. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
That doesn't bother me, but a lot of let's say my professional time is Queen's Court. I don't swear. I try not to swear. I mean, sometimes it depends on the guest. If maybe I'll swear a little bit here and there, but nothing major. And I try to keep it very focused and on questions that are pertinent to the topic. I don't get into all kinds of other stuff. But when I'm just in spaces talking, that's when it can get that's when it can go crazy sometimes. I mean, I think I told you last time we used to play Degen roulette where, we would just all just pump each other up to hit the button and constantly. Like we went crazy on Alpha Flight, the comic, because it was $6.99. And, we got like Rolex and Sanjay and me and Silicon, and we're getting other people up in the crowd and everyone's just buying these damn things. So, I mean, that's one of my favorite spaces things, but that's very different from the Queen's Court, the Queen's Court. Queen's Court's business, if you will.
There's so there's clearly when you get in Vivi and you first like it's a daunting thing to realize like one thing about it, and then there's people you have no idea who they are. They're commenting. There's beef with some people with others, and it's like there's a lot of drama, but once you take that in and you kind of separate, you realize, okay, there's these people kind of roll together, these people kind of roll together. And I didn't know about that particular Degen, like roulette where we're all doing Alpha Flight. But that's one of the things that I was really kind of waiting for, that I really hypothesized about. Like when I first started, I was like, guys, there will be times where you're going to get a bunch of people that are going to be drunk and they're in a room. That's, so I'm really glad
that the lightsabers too, Randy.
Yes. So yeah, I'm really glad that came to fruition already. And that's already happened.
100%. And it was, oh my gosh, there were probably the night we burned through lightsabers, I'm going to say we probably bought at least 50 to 60 out of the store. I mean, everyone was coming up and going, it's my turn, and they'd roll and everyone would cheer, I mean.
And that's not
crazy.
like a $7 comic. Those were $60. So you all spent like 3 or 4 grand that night.
Oh, on the lightsabers, we
Yeah.
spent a lot. I know Silicon got to see. Everybody kept doing better than I did. I kept getting Yoda
Oh,
over and I kept getting the freaking uncommon over and over. Like
I am very
7.
bullish on those lightsabers. Yeah. I don't. I have the set, and I have I think like 7 or 8 Luke Skywalker lightsabers or Skywalker lightsabers, but I'm very bullish on those in the future because it's not an unlimited amount. It might seem like a lot now, but it's there's going to be those are going to be big in my opinion.
We're very bullish on them as well. And Sean from Comics and Crypto, I believe at last count he had 105 Luke lightsabers.
I think
So
Clever Jerk is really big on that as well. He's very very bullish on the lightsabers also.
yeah, I feel like those lightsabers aren't just gonna just you know
Yeah.
hang there by themselves and just sit there. But that's just my opinion. I don't know. I know
Yeah.
nothing.
Mr. Chaz, I was part of it. They're all trash mint comments.
What did he say?
He says, I was part of the lightsaber roulette. I got all trash mint commons.
You got Luke's. Those are better than uncommons. Quit bitching. I wish I got Luke. I got Yoda, man. Oh, 100%.
So there's have you ever watched Big Bang Theory?
Oh, one of my favorite shows. Yeah, I watched every episode.
Oh God, I love that show.
Yeah.
There's one episode where Penny, like, she snaps at Leonard where she says something about like his collectibles and like their children's toys, and he goes to get rid of them because he had that snap from a girl that he really liked and he got hurt, and he's like, okay, well, I'm going to be a man. Do you think that there are going to be examples similar to that where you have this, let's say similar to my situation last year where I was, me and my ex-girlfriend, we were dating at the time, we're in the middle of a breakup, and I said, I have to go do this Vader drop. And that did not help. So do you think there'll be people like that happens, that where their girlfriends break up with them, not because of you, or maybe because of Vivi, that the community gets the attention, and then they go on like this rampage, like, okay, I'm going to burn them all. And do you think that when we get burning, we have people like lose their mind because their girlfriend broke up with them, and then they just burn all their collectibles?
I think a more likely situation will be when wives get mad at their husbands and they go in and they floor all their shit because they're pissed.
I didn't even think
That's what I think's going to happen, if I'm being honest. Walt, $99 special. Goodbye.
I didn't even think about that.
That's what I think's going to happen.
There was a story, it was like in the 90s, where this one lady on Long Island, she sold her husband's Corvette for like $100
I answered that. Yeah.
It's not just Long Island. Okay.
A maroon 75.
Oh my
Beautiful
God.
Corvette. It was back when the courts were real, like blah, 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 flim. You know what I mean? They weren't real. They told her to go sell it. She dropped it for like $100, gave him $50. See you later.
Oh.
Now they wouldn't let you do that. Now there's blue book value and there's laws. But back in the day, all was fair in love and war.
Reed says, don't give the wifey any ideas. So I don't know if you know Smarty Pants. I was with him in Degen when he had like 300 something Plutos. Then eventually at 400. So now he's at 421. He said he might go to 500. What is something that you've stacked the most of? Is it the Yoda? Is it the Yoda lightsabers? I know that was by accident. But what things have you stacked the most?
We got a lot of lightsabers. We've got a lot of mighties, of course, a lot of unicornos. I would say. I mean, it depends on what you mean by stacked. Comics, I think we have like 25 of all the main commons. You know what I mean? Yeah. 25 Amazing Spider-Man, 25. The first 3 that were dropped to the commons. So we like to stack the top 10 comics for
Yeah.
sure. And like I said, some people stacking. I don't have a stack of 500 of anything or 400. My stacking is like 25 Fantastic Four #1 commons. That would be
That's pretty legit.
my common stack. 25 Amazing Spider-Man. That's mine. Now I can't do that with FF or AF15, but Jim 83, Jim 85. We have nice stacks on those comics. Like I said, more McCornos and Mighties just because they're cheap, they're easy. I have the Queen. I think I'm up to about between me and my husband, I think we're somewhere around 12, 13 of those. Those are just fun little things to stack. Triplicates of every Disney, most every Disney thing, the Goldens and such, except for Walt. We try to stack up on those. So, but like I said, I don't have anything like. I don't even know what is he even going to do with 421 Plutos.
I don't know. I just like some. I mean,
Burn
I do 200 Lokis. Like I have a bunch of. I have 77. Or I think it's 80 now. Lady Deadpools, and it's like, and it's not like I can go and. It's not like a M'Baku or a Queen Ramonda, which there's only 4,200 of them. Lady Deadpool has 13,000 mints. It's not like I'm making a dent in like the giant supply. That there's no reason for me to do that. It's just it's like I get addicted. It's so stupid. It's like when you're really sick and you're taking more sips of a drink that's making you sick and you don't know why. Like it's making you sick and you just continue to do it anyway. But
yeah.
That little tiny dopamine receptor. So you said you're signing a lot of comics. Bruno says, like, today I got a secret rare on the drop. Do you think I just should sell and get the Superman? I think he should, because when you have people that come on to the app eventually, comic knowledge, I feel like, is very scarce. And most people would not think of comics right away. I feel like they would. The Superman is one of those blue chips that they would say, like, yeah, that's probably something good. Whereas the comics, because they're a dime a dozen, a lot of people don't know which ones are good, which ones are bad. So I feel like the collectibles would go up first, and then the key comics, like this one. What are your thoughts?
Right. Is he talking the Superman comic or the Superman?
I think he means the Superman collectible.
Collectible. Well, either way, my answer is yes, Superman.
Yeah.
So either way, I'd like the Superman comic as well that's released, but the collectible absolutely is nice. Plus, that's the pre 8%, right? So if you have to sell it, they're only taking 2.5% on that one. So
yeah, that's a good point. That's why I hate my addiction to the Mighties and like the Loki stuff, because it's 8.5%. Like, it would be much better if I just stacked a couple Todds or like a Risa or something, because just that 2.5. Oh man,
yeah, I know we're not going to see that again. I don't think we're ever going to see anything at 2.5% ever again.
Yeah, I mean, not from DC anyway.
No, and not from Marvel.
Yeah,
no.
I do think though that when Veve gets big enough, and other companies are going to them, like let's say like for Hello Kitty, which again, Hello Kitty's on Recur, but I will die on this hill that I think that within the next couple of years, Hello Kitty backs out of their contracts with Recur, pay whatever they have to, and then they go on Veve. And I think at that time, because Veve might be so big in the next 2 or 3 years, they might be able to have a lot of that power and saying, we don't want to mess with our customers as much. We want to give you, let's say, like, what does Post Office have? Post Office has like 2%.
Yeah.
Okay, so they might have everyone at like a flat 2% fee outside of Veve, DC, and others.
Yeah, they're 2 plus 2.5, right? Are they 4.5?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I know it's in between. I know obviously Veve takes their 2.5, but then the Post Office takes like another 1.5% or 2%,
right?
Like that. But yeah, no 69-hour stream for a while. We're talking about Big Bang Theory before. Well, I forget what we were going at before. We were talking about the Superman one. Oh yeah, it was just about
No, we were
People
talking about
flooring their husbands stuff.
people flooring, and you see it sometimes too, like at garage sales. You see that too.
Yeah.
Like, there's a Harley for only $200. Oh
There's
shit!
there's I feel like a lot of that though is really like a young person's thing. Like I don't know. I even if I was super mad, I don't think I could do that to someone now. If I was like a young, hot-headed, like 22-year-old, I could picture myself doing that in a rage. But now as like getting a little older, a little slower, it's like
Yeah, you get a little smarter, and you get a plus. It would depend on what they did.
that. Yeah, that's true.
It would depend.
Well, I mean, I guess it also depends who, how bad it would hurt them. If it's just,
That's true.
if they didn't care too much about it, then it's not really a huge deal.
Yeah. If my husband takes off with my mother, guess what happens to his collectibles?
That you- okay, I guess you're selling them, you're flooring them. Does
Fire
did
sale?
he
No,
did
I'll
he pay
just
what?
transfer him. I'll call Reese. Reese. Oh, poor Reese. Have you been seeing the flack Reese has been getting over selling his Omi?
Oh my God, yeah. And so I've gone on a couple of times on stream and be like, guys, like it's not like he was paid in Omi. Like he's taken his money, his funds, and bought a lot of that Omi when it was 4 zeros, and he worked for Omi, I think, for like a year with no pay. And obviously, they made it right afterwards. But I mean, and it's also a very small. I don't know how he didn't take his whole bag and sell it all. He took a part of his bag and did that. So
That's great. And people think that because he sold it now, he's not going to be encouraged. Since he's in charge of the Omi pretty much, he is pretty much running the Omi OUP side of the house.
Yeah.
Well, now he's not going to be encouraged to move it and get it. I've heard that quite a bit.
Yeah.
That he's not encouraged now to get OUP out there and do a bunch of things. He's already taken his money out, and it's like, no, I don't know. I don't know how you deal with that.
Yeah, I don't deal with that either. Because he he works for Comey, like there's very little that he can actually do or say like in response to that.
Right.
And this is why I don't know if I could have ever accepted a job from Veve or Comey, because they're a lot nicer people than I am, and they're a lot more professional. And I would just I would make like a 30-second short on YouTube and be like, punk stuff. And
But don't you think that could be helpful though to them to a degree? Some of the stuff just to say, yeah, this is what we did. This is why we did it. Move on.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, and this, I don't know why I'm thinking of this particular thing when Vince McMahon had to say something like that with WWE, saying like certain things are, well, this is fixed and it's whatever, you can't do this with betting. And then Vince McMahon literally just went out and said, listen, everything is set up beforehand. This is entertainment. Like, there's no like fixing it. Like, this is the way it is. There's no rules. And he basically just said wrestling's fake and then moved on. And then the next night, Monday Night Raw, like nothing happened. And everyone's like, yeah. So yeah, people, like I said, people forget fairly quickly. Once you put that next shiny thing in front of them, they'll forget. And again, big investors, as long as the company's making money, as long as the thesis doesn't change, and as long as they still have the community, which, where they see that money coming in, like that comment today, $200,000 gross revenue in 6 seconds. As long as investors keep seeing that, they're not going to give a fudge on what what a small minority of the community has to say about FUD.
Right.
Again, it's just my opinion.
And we've sold out recently, pretty much everything.
Yeah.
So we're still rolling along pretty well, all things considered. I liked one of your questions that you had sent me about all those other NFT companies and how much they're, really struggling and how little they're probably bringing in every week. And, what can we learn from those, or are sports still a viable option for Veve?
Oh yeah. I'm looking at the questions now. I forgot I sent those to you.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, that was the number 3 one, right? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, sports companies. Oh no, that was number 5. Yeah, so well, I'll ask you some of these. Can I ask you some of these questions?
You can ask me whatever you want. It doesn't mean I'll answer it.
I mean, it's meant for David, but yeah. So
Oh, go
we'll
ahead.
start with number 5, and guys, be advised. We were just talking about this. I texted you these while I was on the toilet. Not a lot of thought went into them. So number 5, Vivi has about 1 million gem sales per week. No other competitor comes close to the financial success. Since many other companies are bleeding money, oh, it went away. There. Since other companies are bleeding money in this bear market, will Vivi make any moves to purchase other companies, or is the better move to let those companies die and scoop up their licenses? What do you think?
I think there's certain companies that it might benefit them to potentially buy up. I would like to see them have a part of Autograph. Autograph is already using quote, that autograph technology.
Yeah.
A lot we have issues or we have wants as a community to get things signed. Not Stanley. That's going to be hard to get that signature now. Jim Lee, there's people out there. There's various artists. I would like to see them acquire Autograph, but Recur. To me, like that company, let them. I let them die and take the IP.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they have anything else out there, their platform, whatever, nobody's, I don't know what they have planned. Is there going to be a Recurverse, with different things to do and I have no freaking idea,
Yeah.
but I could see like with Autograph, they already have that Autograph technology. They already have a sports vertical, which Vivi does not have.
Yeah.
Top Shots. I don't know if that's even for sale. If they, I feel like that they're gonna hold on to that company and hope that thing rebounds with the bull market. But the other ones, Recur, I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know. What are those passes even worth anymore?
Like $69. I'm coming nice down below, 69. Yeah, they're not worth a lot.
100. Yeah.
So one of the I won't go through all of these because they're 5 questions. Some are a little big. One is what's the biggest advantage Vivi has over the competition right now?
Oh, that's easy. That's IP and clearly their relationship with Disney, 100%.
Okay, cool. So there's there's something I wanted to ask you. I just saw this. It was I guess just like your reactions on when I was like, oh yeah, I was on the toilet when I did these. And so the other day, somebody had asked about it. It wasn't about Leonardo DiCaprio and that he only dates younger women, but it had something to do about that and ages. And you texted me, you're like, Brady, stop talking about this. You're so question, what is and not to like try to guess or ask how old you are, but what was I think you could probably confirm that dating outside your age range, especially dating younger, was most likely more common 30 years ago, and obviously it's not now because people are different and things are different. But do you consider that one of those discussions to be like too taboo that you shouldn't talk about? And if so, why?
See, now that it's so different, like with the laws that were set up to, really protect innocent people and children and people that didn't know any better, that's totally taboo. But when, you're talking about a 15-year-old with, an 18-year-old, now that's just totally crazy, right? You go to jail or something for that, right?
Yeah.
When I was growing up, that was good for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, I'm dating college guys. Bye. Like, yeah, that was nothing, and it was, the mental mature. To me. Now, I just had this talk with my son because I'm like, it's so different now. The world is a very different place. And I even said like, parents can sign you off to get married. at 14, 15 years old if they agreed
Yeah,
to it. And,
that's
I said,
really crazy.
the reason it got so crazy is because, there were people that didn't want to be married. You know what I mean? And their parents were basically selling them or forcing them to get married and signing them off. And I'm like, that's what the law's there to protect. But to me, if you're a 16-year-old girl and you're with an 18-year-old guy or it's not creepy. That's just life because most guys at that age are so immature and girls tend to be a hell of a lot more mature than the guys. So to me, it kind of balances. But I said legally follow the law. You
Of
turn
course.
18, don't even look down.
I I remember studying those laws because I always liked older women, and I found out that in New York, 17 is legal. So as soon as I turned 17, immediately started like trying to sign up with these dating websites, trying to go on just and of course, most women are just like, nah, fam. So it didn't really help. I always still had to lie about my age when I was younger. But the but I don't know. Now it's just because I don't know if I would ever date anyone under the age of maybe like 26 or 27. Just because, I mean, I'm 32 now, so but I would have no issue dating up to like, I know my last girlfriend was 48, and she's not the oldest that I've dated. So I've clearly no problem going up 20 years, but down 5 years is like, what do you, where does it get?
Well, all my life, it always had to be older men. Always, always, always. And usually
Yeah.
significantly, I don't mean significantly, 4 or 5 years, et cetera, always older. Um, my current husband, my husband now is, he's 4 years younger than me. Which
Is this
is,
your first foray into younger men?
yes, he's my first younger man.
How
But
was
at my
that?
age, that's, you're gonna make me blush, Randy.
Well, it's first time, remember?
Uh, yeah, we're very happy. We're very happy.
I know you guys are so cute. You
We're
guys like
very
adorably so, like sitting
we're
on the
very
same side of the table at restaurants and just being.
That's what we do. He's super romantic. I was never like that, but he's made me that way. He's made me romantic. You know what I mean?
That's so
It's
great. Like the way you're smiling, just talking about him. It's true love.
I don't believe in. Oh, okay. I did not believe in that. I thought that was really horseshit. I really did. To say one person, like you have a true love, that's crazy. It's crazy. Um, I still don't think you only have one true love, but I think some people you are definitely more, spiritually, attracted,
Yeah.
pheromones, all that other kind of stuff. So there's
I,
truer love.
so there's I forget what study it was. I think it might have been Freud that had noticed that when he took a look at a lot of a lot of really dark families, a lot of times he said that it was the mother's proclivity to choose to almost like take out their sons at the knees, like emotionally, because they've noticed that for a lot of women, their experience with their sons is like it's like the slowest, hardest breakup that you'll ever go through because your sons love and they need you when they're younger, and then slowly over time they don't need you as much. Instead, that's really painful, and a way to like prevent that, a lot of mothers really kind of go and they almost emotionally stunt a lot of their kids. How your son seems pretty cool. How did you avoid that? How did you go uh, and I guess you're continuing to do so to raise him in the fact that okay, like where do you find that balance? It's like this is enough, and like hey, you really shouldn't do this because this is could be dangerous.
Oh God. Well, here's what I learned from my mother, and that I've seen actually happen. Men will typically, most men will typically fall in line, and I hate to say it that way, or with their wife. If there ever gets to be, a lot of arguments, etc., or there's a whatever, usually the man, ends up with his wife or taking his wife's side, and that mother can be left cold. and kind of in the dark. I mean, I've seen it multiple times
Yeah.
happen. So, one of the things that I think is important, and my mother always did this, is, she said, I always wanted to treat who you were married to as good as I possibly could, because I knew, they were the key to keeping close contact with you and my grandson, etc. And I never wanted to cause those kinds of waves and have that kind of relationship. So, one thing that I want to make sure of with Max is that, I don't want to be that mother that, when he brings a girl home, although she's a slut, she's no good for you. You just can't do that, because that slut might be your the mother of your grandchild. And, you're the one left out in the cold because, he's a man, he goes off with his wife and his family.
Yeah.
And you're left with that. So, a lot of the ways that I will approach it when that kind of time comes with him and having a wife is, I will try to treat her, just like my mother always tried to treat, my spouses with kindness, like they were my own, whether I liked them, whether I didn't like them, it doesn't matter. That's the key. That's one of the keys to keeping your son close to you, I think. So, but I want him to be free. I want him to go out and do what he has to do and be a man. It's going to break my heart, but that's what he needs to do, right? He's a man. Daughters, I'm a little jealous because they call you on the phone every day. Some of them do. They text you. They come back. Boys, they don't text their mom so much. It's usually mom begging, please, I haven't heard from you in 2 months. Are you okay? And, it's that annoying, like, hi, mom, okay, I'm fine. Yes. Okay. Give me a split, so I know it's going to come, but I think as long as I treat whatever, the woman that he chooses and his family, well, I don't think I'm going to lose him.
Yeah. I mean, you also seem like a pretty cool mom also. I mean, that could all just be an act that you just put on for everyone, but you seem really cool. You seem fun. And I mean, as long as I also feel like nowadays where it's a lot easier to be into some of the same stuff as your kids, because I feel like like 40 years ago, the kids shows were really not good. And then they started getting better in the 90s, and then they started getting better. And like I don't know if you've watched some anime with your kid, right?
A little bit. Yeah.
And some of it.
I try to talk with him though, like he's, not a kid. Even though he is, always try to treat him with, you know what I mean? Like another human being, you know what I mean? Some of the things we talk about are, just things I want him to know. Tell me, ask me anything, and he's asked me some things. I mean, he's asked me some things and I answer them because I would rather him feel comfortable just asking me, than wondering or worrying or something like that. So yeah, when he was little, I remember one time he spilled this blue goo and it got into the carpet. And he was so upset and he was crying and he's like, Mom, I'm so sorry. And his friend was there and my cousin was there. And I'm like, well, is it coming out? And he goes, no. And I go, oh, okay. And my cousin, she looked at me and she goes, he just turned your carpet blue. Aren't you going to like beat him or punish him? And I'm like,
yeah, my mom would beat the shit out of me.
Right. And I'm like, well, what good is it going to do? Is it going to undo the car? Is it going to fix the carpet? She's like, no. I'm like, is it going to put it back? And she's like, well, he'll know better next time not to do it. And I said, well, next time I'll know not to give a 3-year-old goo in the middle of the living room.
Yeah. It's like that reminded me of a scene of Pirates of the Caribbean where something happens along the Black Pearl and Jack is pissed off. So he takes a pistol and he shoots the monkey Jack. Because the monkey Jack is undead, like he can't die. And then Mr. Gibbs is like, that won't do any good. He's like, it does me. And he keeps on shooting. I feel like a lot of like when parents get physical, it's not really to discipline the kid. It's to make themselves like their anger, they have to take it out. And I'm not obviously advocating for that. Obviously, I hated that when I was younger, and probably why I don't have that good of a relationship with my mom. But that's
yeah. I heard something interesting about people talking about disciplining their daughters, and I heard I can't remember who it was, but he said, I don't want my daughter's association of love from a man to be violence. And
Mhm.
I thought, wow, that's really interesting. I never looked at it from that perspective. Like the first man that you love and the way that he loves you is by spanking you, which is violence. And I guess I never really thought about it that way. You know what I mean? And it was interesting. He's like, no, I don't hit my daughters because I
Yeah.
don't want them to associate physical pain with the love of a man. I'm like,
That's really good advice, I think. Well, I mean, I think that's good advice because that makes sense. And I also feel like that's also probably how some kinks can get inculcated in you. Like, oh, I was spanked when I was younger, and now,
yeah,
you get, yeah, like I don't know, like one of my kinks is getting hit, and is that because, when I was younger? Oh, I know kinks are passed down too. So like any kink that you have is from your parents, and
from your
I'm
parents.
I'm adopted, so I literally can't ask anyone. Like there's like, hey, why do I feel like
Maybe you could get some genetic kink testing done, Randy. Maybe you can go get your DNA test.
I mean, you can get the
Oh
23 and
God,
Me.
I
I
don't
don't.
need to know about my mother and my grandmother's kinks. Okay, I just don't.
Well, whatever your kinks are, passed down. It's from half from them. So
Mom, you dirty, dirty girl.
this conversation has devolved into such
Yeah.
a.
Can we go back to Vivi?
Okay, so perfect time to plug the charity.
Yes,
Everyone
let's talk
down
about the
below,
charity.
all you have to do to win a signed Pikachu Funko Pop by Al Kahn, David Yu, and Dan Crothers is the link down below to either Best Friends Animal Society or to First Responders Children's Foundation, and donate $10. When you donate the $10, you'll get a receipt. Screenshot that receipt and email it to Queenscourtcharity@gmail.com. All the links are down below. Danny the Bull says he's just getting caught up and would gladly give up his spot for David Yu. Just so you know.
Too late, Danny. Too late.
So
David is penciled in for the 15th. So
speaking of stacking, Kelly Boudreau has 60 Riri Williams. So she has 2% of the Riri Williams as Ironheart. Did you see Black Panther?
yes, I did.
How do you like the second one?
I like the ending. I thought the ending was cool. I look forward.
Yeah, it looks like them.
I look forward to how they're going to pick that up.
Oh, I know. So they'll age him up at some point, probably more towards, I'd say Captain America 4, the New World Order. They'll probably have him on Young Avengers, and then they'll age him up a bit. But I also think that the way they did it, can I say spoilers? Should I say spoilers here? I'll just, it's been out in the movies for a while. It's been on Disney Plus for a couple of days. I'm going to spoil it. So at the end of the movie, they tell you that Nakia had a secret son with T'Challa, which is different because in the comics, T'Challa's son was between him and Storm, and obviously this is completely different. So I think that when they cast Storm, they're going to cast her as like a teenager or maybe like an early 20-something-year-old, and then they're gonna, that's gonna be a love.
Those two are gonna. Okay.
Get it in. So yeah.
You
I think
were
that's
saying boink a lot the other night. I'm like, I can't get on him. He keeps talking about smashing. I mean, I can't get on your stream. You kept saying boink and smash. I'm like, I'm not getting on this stream.
This is where the conversation went.
I was just like, Randy, please stop talking about underage. Stop now. Oh, geez. So did speaking of which, did you go for the comic today?
Yes, I got it. I got a common. Sold it for 23 gems. I made 1 gem profit. I am in the black, baby.
Wow, that's terrible.
Still made the profit. I mean, I think the only one that you didn't make a profit on, I think, was the uncommon. If you got it delivered after like 30 minutes, but everything else, you can make a profit on. So I still think it was.
I can't jump on the uncommon train. I try. I try to listen to those people, but I just can't. I'm a common girl at heart. I really am.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because I'm not crypto. I'm not really crypto world focused.
Yeah.
I just feel like I want to see the original. Like, I don't know. We were just talking today to my son about that. I want to see, the Barbie, the blonde hair, the shapely one and her little fur and her high heel. Like, I don't want to see a black and white Barb. Like, you know what I not, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want to see a Barbie with, green hair, and that's not my like, that's not my Barbie. And I
Yeah.
would think as a comic collector, but I, that's their comic. That common's their comic for the most part. You
Yeah.
know, now some of the Miles Morales and such, those are originals, and I get those completely. But those older comics, I just like that. That's the real thing. Everything else is manufactured.
Yeah. So the older, and this is where I get one of my follies, I think, is that I appreciate first appearances and like, hey, this is a piece of history. But some of those stories are just like, they're just not good. They're just not. I don't know. I would rather. I think the Hit Monkey like that comic, like that Hit Monkey story, that origin. I think that's a better story and a better read than like Fantastic Four #1 and Marvel Comics #1. And obviously, again, that's history. The Hit Monkey comics go for like $200 and 9.8. They're very, very not coveted. But it's just I don't know. I was going over this with comics and crypto with Sean like last week, and I don't know, some of those older stories I just can't get into. Have
They're
you read
different. They're different. Some of them. I
have you
don't.
read some of the comics that you bought?
A little bit, like a couple pages, and then I'm like, no, those are investments. Those are investments.
Some of them I really enjoy. Like the X-Men Holiday one is like $2. Like guys, if you're listening to this, the X-Men Holiday one is $2. Go and grab that for a read and then go and sell that. You'll lose like, 30 cents, whatever. I enjoy it because it's just a good read. It's fun. Um, what type of stories do you typically like? Like in general? Like is it the romance thing? Is it thrillers, crime, detective series?
I'm more of a drama either drama or biography. Those are
Mhm.
the two areas that I like to like go towards,
So when the Lori Brenner, aka Queen Vivi biography comes out, what part do you think is going to be the best of the book? Like the meatiest part, the one that people are going to like reread over and over again?
Oh, Randy, you are really invasive tonight.
Oh, I mean, like you don't have to go into detail. You could just say like what years or what age or just what was going on at that time.
Oh shit.
I mean, like, it's fine.
Oh God. I have
Or
so
maybe
many stories. I'm gonna say probably 18 to 22 was pretty interesting.
yeah.
The college years were pretty damn interesting. My first few years in nuclear power at a nuclear power plant, there's a lot of really interesting stories that I could tell you from there. Jeez, even now Vivi stories, Randy. There's we're getting some pretty interesting ones now. But oh geez, you made me blush. As my husband comes up and brings me coffee. Thank you, honey. He filled it up.
Thank you, honey. So, do
Mm.
you feel like, I mean, for me, like if I were to have like a Randy Chavez book, there would definitely be a before Vivi and after Vivi. And I feel like it's not, I definitely had purpose beforehand, but I feel like now is one of, I would say, the best times in my life just because I have a lot more influence. And it's not like influence so I could like make money or whatever. It's influence like to really get what I think, some of the fun and exciting, but also, in my opinion, the right way to live is. And I feel like I almost have like a newfound purpose with like kind of with this. Did you ever feel that way when starting spaces and now becoming like a member of this new community that you had no idea existed 2 years ago?
You, I don't know. I guess as you kind of go through, you know, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I had everything that I thought I wanted. I had big house, beautiful, best part of town, all this. And I wanted it to be that place where everybody comes, all the kids come, all the families come for Christmas. And it lasted, I would say, probably about 4 years. This just idyllic, like everything I worked for my whole life. Finally, this is, I made it, and I got there, and it was just it wasn't what I wanted at all. Like family would come and they'd bicker, like, why did you invite her? Why did you invite this person? Well, I wanted, and people expected my wealth to be their wealth and such. And it was in just all the maintenance of keeping it up that I just got to the point where I'm just like, it was after 4th of July, there was a big blow. And I said, you know what, the hell with this. This is not worth it. I tried. I wanted to be this way. It's not going to be this way. And I sold the house and all the possessions I had in it and moved to this little teeny tiny house. And I just started traveling. I went to Europe. I went all over the Bahamas. I went everywhere. And I decided the house, the cars, I don't want any of that. I want life. I want the experience. And, that was really important to me, because a lot of people say that, that they want to live and carpe diem and all that, but they don't do it. And that was something I did, and it all stopped around COVID. All that kind of stuff stopped in my life because of COVID, and you couldn't do that, and you couldn't travel, and then that's where Veve came in. So Veve filled that gap, of just wanting something different, wanting to do more, wanting to live. So it's definitely filled a gap that I was missing during COVID. And it still pushed me. Like New York Comic Con, I would have never gone to New York Comic Con. I would have gone to Degen. I can't wait till next New York Comic Con. I was just telling my husband tonight, I want to roll up in a horse and carriage, full Queen Vivi. I'm going to try to get Al to come with me. Like,
that'd be great. He would love that too.
With like the 8 white horses in the carriage, like full Queen Vivi. I'm coming into Degen that way. Like, I just want to roll up that way. Could you imagine?
I could picture that. That'd be great.
Wouldn't that be fun? But you could do it there. They have a horse and carriage. I'm like, that's how I'm going to Comic-Con. So it's really just been really nice to have these experiences. Talk to different people, know different people. There's so many people now I talk to that I would have never thought I was going to ever talk to. Even things like, Al inviting me to come to the Thanksgiving Day, for the charity, for the first responders with them. And it's like, I never thought that I never thought I'd be doing that, like hanging out with him for that. And so it's really nice. I'm really enjoying it and having fun with it, but I still don't know where it goes.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us do,
That's like the fun of it. Like, we don't know. I mean, we can have a guess, but yeah, we don't know. That's, I think, part of what makes it exciting.
I mean, do you think if only goes to $1 in 10 years, are you still going to be doing this? Probably not, I would say.
I mean, I would change things. I would change things a little bit, but I mean, there's the quote from, or maybe not a quote. There's Clint Eastwood was being interviewed, and this was like 10 years ago, maybe even longer, where he was, I think at the time, still in his 70s, like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And, so the interviewer was asking him, like, when do you stop? Like, when do you stop working? You're getting on in years. And he says, well, I'll stop when it stops being fun.
Right.
And that really, in my younger mind, is like, okay, as long as it's fun, not really considered work. And as long as I go and I have a good time doing this, like I love having these conversations and like really getting to know. Like, obviously I could go and watch interviews with you, and I could, listen to spaces with you, but to ask some of these questions that nobody else has asked and to dig into that other layer, I think is really interesting. And I feel it's very intimate. I feel like this is like a form of intimacy that I can have like with everyone in the world and not be considered a slut.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but you have to know when to regulate too, because spaces, lately, I don't know, they're just a bear market, etc. Whenever you're finding that they're starting to make you feel worse than better, you need to be able to pull out too. You know what I mean? You need to be able to pull away. Um, and just as good as it is for your mental health, I think, to be around people and be part of a community, sometimes you also need to step back too if it's not good, and you need to just leave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it can be rough sometimes in the spaces.
That's why I do like to keep kind of one foot in the door, one foot out. Like half of my like this will be considered podcast number 168, but a good half of these podcasts are not BV related. They're okay. Here's a musician. Here's an actress. Here's and so I'll even if I step away from Vivi, which maybe in 8 years I might I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll still do this. But you kind of got me thinking when you were talking about that you had this big house, like you had made it, and then you realize that okay, money doesn't really buy happiness, and you want to travel. There's a song that I was listening to, which your son might have listened to this back in the day if he ever watched Nickelodeon. You ever watched Victorious?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a song called "All I Want Is Everything." I want to read you some of the lyrics and get your interpretation of it. It goes, "All I want is everything. Yes, everything. Too much is not enough. I'm sick of settling for in between, and I'm not giving up. As long as it feels right, at least we know that we're alive." Do you think that when you were younger and a lot of younger people, they feel that they are kind of on top of the world is their oyster, and they do want everything? And then as you get older, you realize everything is not all it cracked up to be?
Yeah, I mean, I did everything right. I graduated top of my class. I went and got my undergrad degree. I started working in a professional career. I went back. I got my master's degree. I work I've always worked in Fortune, 200 companies. I had dream house, best neighborhood, by 34 and a child, and everything, perfect, if you will. Um, everything that you were supposed to have. You know what I mean? The job, the loans paid off, the nice cars, the house, the pool, the hot tub, the swings at the playground, the 3,000 square, the whole deal. And it just wasn't worth. I mean, people just, it just wasn't worth it. Nobody appreciated it. People would get angry. It was just like it wasn't. I wasn't happy. It was just like, the hell with this. And I went and bought like this house that I had bought for my mother because she had broke up with my stepfather and didn't have anywhere to go. So I bought her this little house, this little cottage house, this little Cape Cod, and she ended up moving back in with him. And I had it empty, and I just, fuck it, I'm moving into that house, and I'm going to Hawaii. I spent 10 days in Hawaii. I spent 30 some days in Europe. I went to Aruba, Bahama, Jamaica, and I just went. Did what I wanted, and it just made me happy. Like, I don't care that I don't have that, $10,000 bedroom suit. I could give a shit less now. You know what I mean? Like, whoever saw it? It was beautiful, but it was so horrible to clean. It was all
Oh, I can imagine.
engraved. Who the hell wants to clean that? It didn't make sex better. Like, you know what I mean? you know. So now it's like, I don't, that's not what makes me happy. But
Yeah.
I thought that was it. That was the dream. I had everything, and I didn't, you know what I mean? And even Max, he didn't like the school. He didn't like the kids. He didn't like the area. We're like, the hell with it. Let's go.
Oh,
And up we went and just moved. So, yeah. Now, we were supposed to move eventually, but then life happens, and then it's like, you only got a couple years left now. What the hell?
yeah.
But
I'll agree to that. Where do you guys plan to move after, when Vivi and Omi kind of goes up? Are you gonna move down south? Because I hate this cold and I'm
somewhere, ultimately we're gonna. The problem is Florida insurance. Insurance is ridiculous in Florida.
Mhm.
That's the one thing I'm afraid of. The cars, the hurricanes, etc. And I don't know how anybody lives in the Southwest because 120 degrees is crazy, and I don't think there's going to be any water left there, Randy, before long. Louisiana, Alabama, you know. So I don't really know where we would go. Maybe
Maybe
North
snowbirds.
Carolina, maybe South Carolina. But definitely, yeah, we have to go south. I hear Portugal is also nice. I think maybe we should take a ride over there and do some visiting there.
That seems to be the move that a lot of people are looking at. Portugal, maybe Puerto Rico, but yeah, they're looking to do that to go and save a lot on your crypto when you go and cash out.
Honestly, though, I will want to stay in the States for I mean, seriously, and my eyes are bad. Um,
Yeah,
as much as I'd love to say that, honestly, whenever I get older, I will want to be in the United States where, the medical care is there, et cetera, plus my parents. So I was just thinking about that today. Most likely it'll have to be Florida, Georgia, somewhere around South Carolina, somewhere in there, but I can't handle this cold either
yeah,
my whole life. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
I would not want to get sick in any other country aside from the U.S. That this is the only place where I would trust to get sick in. Um, and Bam says she will not. She's in the Southwest, and she will not be here after Omi moves. Congrats. So I'm not sure where she'll go. Maybe she'll go to like Hawaii or something. No, we'll see. We'll see her all tan. Um, is there? So we've been going a little over an hour and a half. Is there anything you'd like to go over before we dip?
The only other things that I would think of is like I said, some of the things that you think people are really interested in and why. Maybe we'll spend the last few minutes just asking people in the audience too. Is there anything that really interests people more than that you think they really want to hear about? Um,
Yeah,
I
comment down below,
know,
guys.
yeah, like I know people want to know OUP, but I feel like OUP for the most part and OMI, that's laid out on that
Yeah,
page. They have progress. You can go and watch Reese's recent interview. I think Reese does an amazing job at explaining the OMI side and the OUP side of where they are and why they do what they do.
yeah,
I mean, would you agree? I'm surprised that people feel the need or want to hear more about that when to me it's pretty well laid out if you ask me. I mean, they've said why no exchanges at this point. They've said progress, they've said priorities with OUP. um I'm not really sure how much more we have to know or what else is out there about OMI and OUP that we have not already learned from Reese.
yeah.
um I know I've also seen quite a few comments, even one specifically, Hello K brought it up. He was questioning why doesn't David ever talk about Omi? Um, and I don't know why he does. To me, I would think that's not his focus.
Yeah, it's not his
Um,
apartment.
that's not his role. Even though it is going to drive, it's the currency that's going to be driving pretty much everything. But I'm really surprised there are a lot of questions still with OMI and OUP because I think Reese has done a very good job and with that website of saying exactly what's planned, where they are, and what else is on the to-do list. But
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, Danny can help me. Danny can help me on Wednesday, maybe some of the mysteries or some of the things that people maybe don't know or don't understand or would like to know with respect to OMI. I mean, are there certain things you can think of, Randy? I
that
mean,
they don't. I mean, it's all kind of there on OUP, but other things that I would. So I would like to, and this doesn't really matter, but I would like to know what didn't make it into OUP and why. Like Adam and Reese have been working on this for over a year now. About it, like this has been their main focus, is what they've been
right,
doing, and it's an
right,
amazing piece of literature. But I'm really curious on what didn't make it in. We have an entire an entire website dedicated to what did make it in and how it's going to work. But I'm very curious what didn't make it in and why. And yeah, so that's, and again, that's not really.
Well, is there something? Yeah, is there something though you were looking for that was missing, or is it just you just wanted to hear what else was thrown on the wall and didn't stick?
Yeah, it's like, you have a bunch, like they used to tease Rick and Morty episodes, like here's the 9 episodes that we're doing, and here's the rest that wound up on the cutting room floor, like ideas. And it's like, oh, why didn't they make these? So I mean, it's malleable so that they can amend it. So if they do think of
Right.
something in the future, they can add it.
Right.
But I also am wondering, like, is there anything that they thought, oh, it's too crazy or too close to what could be relegated to as a security? They don't want to do it. And if there are things like that, when we do get clarity, either this year or next year on securities, can we add those? Like, are those in safe spaces, or were those ideas like, were they written down, or were they saved in a hard drive, or are they just lost? Because there's so many things. I don't make this comparison to like music, where I like Sweet Emotion was written on acid, and that's like an amazing song. And there's a bunch of other songs that a bunch of other artists created that they just didn't write down, and like how much beautiful pieces of artwork and music were lost because you didn't write it down. So what I'm just kind of hoping is that, these ideas that these just 2 people came to independently, I'm hoping that we don't have to wait, 5 or 8 years for somebody else to come up with it independently. It's like, oh yeah, we thought about that, we forgot about it. So that's just kind of my own.
I think they have more than 2 people, though. I do. I think Brock, and there's a few others that are involved in some of that as well. But yeah, we're not going to ask him that. No, we're not going to ask him that. That's a negative ghostwriter.
Okay. When I do another, like a super long stream, will you come on it for a while? Will you host? Will you be?
Yes,
Okay.
I will. What are have you ever had David on other than popping in? Have you ever got like dedicated time with him to go through and interview him?
No, well, I mean, it's just been him coming on and then me asking questions. The only time it was a one-on-one was that first time.
It was the first time, so it's been a while.
The other times have been, the second one was like I don't want to say a crap show. It was, I didn't have the rules in the second one, so there was like maybe 5 or 6 people on, and then as soon as he popped up, everyone started requesting to join back in. So I made this rule for the third one that if you're there when he pops up, you can stay. But if you're not there when he pops up, you cannot come back in. And that is, and I'll continue that moving forward. I'll be like, hey, if you're there, well, because then you have everyone, their sister trying to get in, and it's like,
I know,
and it gets really chaotic, and I really want to keep it to like 6 people.
I get it.
Like max, like me, him, and then like maybe 4 others.
Yeah, I get it. He said that actually he woke up and he had messages from his legal department saying that Randy Chavez is driving himself on a 69-hour sleepless stream, risking his health, threatening that if David doesn't come on, he's going to continue to go. So you know what, Randy? I don't need to do that for David to go.
That was for the 33-hour stream, and that was not me.
He threatened a hunger strike.
So I did that, but that was because that was for a bunch of different reasons. The hunger thing was completely separate. The 2-day fast was completely separate from the 33-hour stream, which other people had said. They were posting on Twitter, Randy's not stopping until he's until David comes on. It's like, guys, it's just going where it's going. Like you can come, but they just, Twitter did its thing. But I told him in October, when we were at dinner, I was like, hey, I'm going to have a 69-hour stream. So you can tell Legal Dave that, you can join, you cannot join. I'm not going to go for X amount if you don't come. Just, this is where it's doing. If you can make it, great. If not, no big deal. Tell your legal team. And it's like, yeah, okay. And then he told the story, that what you just said. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he did tell the story. So I look forward though to this week in the charity. It's also pinned up. It's pinned up on my page too, on Queen Vivi, at Lori Brenner on Twitter. So we're going to have a link there too if people just want to go and donate. So Randy, I don't know what we're going to do. I had said that we're going to go live on the 15th, that it was going to close Valentine's Day. But I'm going to be a little busy on the 15th. So with
Me too.
David.
Are you seeing Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey?
No, I'm not, but I am going to see Cocaine Bear. I'm so excited for Cocaine Bear.
Same.
We're so excited for Cocaine Bear. My husband and I talk to each other through our unicorns.
Nice. I got hooked up. I have a Homelander somewhere, but I can't find him. He's on the. Oh no, wait. There he is. Yeah, I am an adult.
This is Priscilla.
Great entertainment, worth watching. I think so too.
Oh shit. We have our puppets. Wow. But anyways, no, if everyone's free to DM me if they have any crazy questions they come up with. I think we're gonna try though, like I said, with David, we're gonna try to keep it very Veve centric. It seems like that's what the people want. And I think Danny's gonna do a this is my husband's. This is Elvis. So we are Elvis and Priscilla. And this is how we express our love for each other through.
It's amazing.
Yeah, she's constantly trying to hit on him. So anyways, so hopefully we'll get some good OMI updates, OUP stuff, talking with Danny next week. And then I think with David, we're going to keep it pretty concentrated on Veve, and just some questions that are out there. And hopefully we'll see you there.
Yes, I will definitely be there. And that's on the 8th, right?
No, Danny's on the 8th.
I thought Danny was this week.
He is this week.
Oh, shoot. This week's the 8th. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I thought, okay. I didn't.
Danny's on the 8th. David's on the 5th.
Okay. David's on the 15th. Okay. I forgot about, okay. Disregard. Okay.
Okay.
David, Queen's Court.
And then I think Asian Dan is the week after that. So it's like
nice.
Dan, Dave, Dan. So we're going
Asian Dan. And dude, he is so funny. Like nobody knows. Like there's so many people that are so funny, and like he's funny, Wendy's funny, and like I feel like people don't know. Like they just don't know. People need to know.
All right.
But yeah.
Well, yeah, like I said, I look forward to talking with you soon. And yeah, we got Danny Wednesday, and like I said, we will definitely talk about the charity, and we're doing pretty well. I think we have I'm trying to think, we somewhere around 220 so far, but we just really started kind of advertising, so we're getting there. We might have a little bit more.
Cool beans. I bought a little more OMI this last week, 152. I'll try to get a little more as the months go on, but we're up above 00 now, so it's harder to get more OMI.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? You think that's just because everything's up and it's just getting caught up with the trend?
No, because it didn't go up when everything was going up. It went up when it. So I think, and the people that had bought like Omi the Clown and Son of Veve that are notoriously, have been bearish on this company for quite a long time. Mm-hmm. It's not just me and a bunch of other people that already have so much that are buying more. Although it's a bunch of people that really haven't had faith in a while. And there's so many people that say that the token's disconnected from the app, and to their credit, they're kind of right. I mean, it's coming, but I feel like most people don't really believe in the success of the token. And so a lot of the success is not priced in yet. I'm very, very bullish on where this goes in the next couple of years. So excited.
Even 5 cents would be amazing. You know what I mean? We forget, I don't, the $1, the $10 prediction. Yeah, that's great, but we don't have that far to go. Yeah,
we're very excited. So we'll end it here. I'll just talk to you off camera for a little bit.
Yep.
And then we'll bounce. Everyone say bye-bye to Dashi. Bye-bye, Dashi. Thank you guys. Goodbye. Meow, meow. Super chat. Bye. Meow, meow, meow. Thank you.